Reverend Ken to lead us in a meditation and then give us his talk for today, Peace and Repeace. Welcome, Reverend Ken.
Well, good morning.
Good
And
morning.
now is a time we're going to take a little break from life as we know it. Might have been the hustle and bustle of the first week of Christmas. You know, that to-do, running around, running to stores, going to parties and things like that. So this is our time to come away for a little while. So I invite you now to get comfortable in your seats if you haven't done so already. Maybe stretch out those neck muscles a little bit. Crinkle those fingers. Close your eyes if you so feel called, or maybe just leave them half closed. And together, let's take a deep collective breath. Just breathing in, holding it for a moment, and releasing it. Just letting it go, letting all the stuff go. Taking another deeper breath in this time. Just nice and natural. Holding it for a moment. And as you release this breath, just release all the stuff, all the anxieties, the worries, the concerns. Just let them go away, dissipate. Set them down. You can always pick them back up later, but we don't want to do that. And as you just find your own natural rhythm, syncing up with that divine in you, just breathing in and breathing out, just nice and relaxed. Just like the waves coming in and out of the ocean, rolling in and rolling out, breathing in and breathing out. And with each breath, feel your mind begin to clear even more. All irrelevant thoughts, things just begin to dissipate like clouds in the sky, like the morning fog melting away in the sun. Just picture your mind now being clear, open, like that beautiful, clear California sunny sky we're used to. With each consecutive breath, feel your body begin to relax even more. Feel your neck begin to just loosen. Your shoulders just naturally relaxing. Feel your stomach become calm. Feel your legs just relax. And your feet just melt into the floor. Breathing in and breathing out. Now in this moment, as we begin to anchor deeper into this state, I want you to picture yourself in a nice, comfortable nest. Could be maybe the nest of your own bed, your couch, maybe you have a favorite comforter or something you have. Maybe it's on a nice, lush patch of grass. Maybe it's in the sand on a nice, warm beach. But just picture yourself ensconced in this nice, warm cocoon. And in this cocoon, there are no worries, there are no concerns. There are answers. You know what to do. You know what decisions to make. You love all, and you see all, and you are all. And no matter what is swirling around on the outside, in this outside world, whether it be family or friends, whether it be governments, whether it be obligations, whatever is going on outside, it just simply moves around you. And you can simply observe it. But from your place, ensconced in this place of peace. So in this place, I would like you to hear this affirmation. Let it move through your ears, percolate within your brain and your headspace, and really feel it move through your body. The statement that the peace I practice is the peace I am. The peace I practice is the peace I am. The peace I practice is the peace I am. And now we take this statement, say it to yourself silently to refocus your mind. But again, we take this statement now for a few moments into a short period of silence. The peace I practice is the peace I am. So we just let those words sit with us, moving from our consciousness to our unconsciousness. Invite you to come back into this present moment, just staying connected with your breath, staying in that place of peace. And so open your eyes as you feel called, if you haven't. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes. And again, bringing ourselves back into this present moment, but retaining that knowledge of peace, that presence of peace and poise in this time together and throughout our days, weeks, and months to follow. And for this time, the silence and connection to Spirit, that light of Christ in us, we give thanks and we say Amen. Well, how's everybody feeling? Peaceful, right? Yes. Today's week, the second week of Advent, is peace, and we can all use a little peace, right? Sometimes we need a piece of mind. Sometimes it's a piece of pie. I had plenty this Thanksgiving. But sometimes a piece of pie, right? They talk about comfort food, so it brings us comfort. But there's a story I'd like to share with you to open up with, and it's called The Picture of Peace. And it talks about there was once a king who offered a prize to the artist who could paint the best picture of peace. You imagine what that would be like, painting a picture of peace? So many artists tried, and the king looked at all the pictures, and after much deliberation, he was down to two, just two. And he had to choose between them. One picture, the first, was of a calm lake. The lake was a perfect mirror of the peaceful mountains that towered around it. Overhead, fluffy white clouds floated in blue sky. Everyone who saw this picture said that it was the perfect picture of peace. The second picture, well, it had mountains too. And these mountains were both rugged and bare. And above was an angry gray sky from which the rain fell. Lightning flashed. Down the side of the mountain tumbled a foaming waterfall. This really didn't appear to be a peaceful place at all. But when the king looked closely, he saw that behind the waterfall was a tiny bush growing out of the rock. And inside the bush, a mother bird had built her nest. There, in the midst of the rush of angry water, sat the mother bird on her nest. She was the perfect picture of peace. So the king chose the second picture because he explained peace is not only a place where there's no noise, trouble, or hard work. Peace is in the midst of things as they are when there is calm in your heart. That is the real meaning of peace. So I invite you today to look at peace as we explored in our meditation is this nesting place, this place where we operate from. And also, we're going to look at peace today as a practice. Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons, Unity minister, from his book, The Eye of the Storm, says, a center is both a place and potentiality where harmony and balance occur. There's a place within every relationship or experience where the forces of soul and personality and soul interact to create spiritual growth and transformation. On the surface, this place may look and feel stormy, kind of like that rock with the waterfall coming down. But we have the capacity to experience the storm from our center, our nest, just like that bird. The eye of the storm is that place where there is a calm and peace and where there is an awareness of God's presence. So today, we're going to look at peace as a practice. We can practice peace. Because a lot of times we look at it and it's like, well, I don't feel peaceful, or how do I get to that place of peace, or how do I maintain and stay in that place of peace? So today we're going to look at some practical steps, and we're going to explore this in this talk about this idea of peace and re-peace. And this is based on Unity's fifth principle. Does anybody know what Unity's fifth principle is? We just did the 5 principles, for those of you who read it up there. But Unity's fifth principle, if nothing else, just remember practical application. 2 words, practical application. It's not enough to study and know these truths or look at them, but to really put them into practice in our personal lives. That's what the fifth principle is all about, and that's what we're going to look at peace as. It's not a place where we just get to and we walk around going, oh, everything is great. No, it's where we get down where the rubber meets the road. We got a peace and re-peace. So I'd like to open with scripture as we start to explore this idea of peace and re-peace. And it comes from Philippians chapter 4, verse 9 from the New International Version. And Paul is addressing one of the churches in Philippia, and he says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. And I don't think Paul is speaking from himself. He's not talking about Paul, the personality, the Apostle Paul going, well, I'm telling you all this great stuff. No, I believe that's Spirit. That's that Christ presence speaking through Paul. So if you can imagine Spirit saying to you, hey, whatever you've learned or received from me, or heard from me, or seen in me, put it into practice. And the verse that precedes that, what are we putting into practice? And this is where Paul addresses his church and says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things. Right? Our first principle says there's only one power and one presence active in the universe, God the good. So what do we want to reflect on to attune ourselves to God? We want to reflect on these types of things, these divine ideas and attributes. And we are guaranteed that if we do, we will experience that peace that we are seeking. Because I don't think that peace comes from that piece of pie, although it's temporary, sometimes it does, or a bowl of ice cream or anything outside of ourselves. We may get a temporary peace from it, but that lasting peace that we all really seek, that peace that our souls yearn for, that true peace, comes from this practice of connection and expression. And it is a practice. Again, it's not something we just get to or arrive at. So would you like to learn how to practice peace?
Yes.
Yes, all right. Because we're going to learn how to peace and
Re-peace.
all right, and I want you to think of peace as an acronym. So I tried to make it as easy as I can. So we're using PEACE as an acronym, P-E-A-C-E, peace. The P is for prayer. The E is for empathy. The A is for acceptance. The C is for cooperation. And the E is for elimination or renunciation. So let's begin with prayer. That's always a good place to start, isn't it? Prayer. Well, prayer helps from our daily word today, actually. I love this quote, and we read it earlier, but I want to explore this again. Prayer helps us stay centered, serene, and relaxed so we can be an instrument of peace. When we hold thoughts of tranquility and affirming peace in every heart, including our own, we move through this day and Advent season affirming kindness and compassion. And as we do, we give the gift of peace. We give that gift of peace. As we can let it flow through us, our heart, going through our heart like ripples on a lake, we can sustain each person, including ourselves, in concentric circles of tranquility and goodwill. And I love that visual of the ripples, those circles of tranquility and goodwill. So the nature of prayer, what it does is it attunes us to this absolute. In Unity, we talk about absolute realm and relative realm. Relative realm is where we are right now in the earth, where we think about things and things happen and things come and go. We experience challenges and setbacks. The absolute realm is that realm of God. It's the kingdom of heaven. It's that realm of God. It's that realm of possibility where all things are possible. And our goal is to be able to tap into that realm and experience that realm on a daily basis and increase that time in there. That time in the silence where we experience meditation and you just lose track of time, right? That's seeing or experiencing that realm. So again, that prayer is that practice of connecting ourselves to that realm. Kind of like one of those charging cars, you got the plug-in stations, and they plug in, you park and you plug in every so often. That's what we want to do with our spirit, with our soul. We want to be able to plug in to that divine source of creativity, of wisdom, of knowledge, of zeal, of love, and keep that going. So again, prayer is the first step to us experiencing our peace. One of the things we can do is use affirmations. We talked about affirmative prayer, and affirmations are very, very powerful statements that help us anchor in and clear our minds and focus on truth. And one of the statements I like to use when I'm really feeling discordant is, peace be still, peace be with me. Just with my breath, peace be still, peace be with me, peace be still, peace be with you. And so that's one way, in a quick way, if we're experiencing, we're at the mall and we're getting jostled and hustled and the hubbub, as they say, of the shopping season, we can always duck into a corner someplace and just take a couple breaths. Or we could be standing in line. Peace be still, peace be with you. Peace be still, peace be with you. Right when you're behind that person with 20 coupons in the checkout line and they can't get the register working and they got to do a price check and all that stuff, peace be still, peace be with you. So peace is that first step. The second step, empathy. Empathy. According to Webster's, empathy is the action of understanding. It's being aware of and being sensitive to and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another. So why is empathy so important in practicing our peace? Well, I believe that empathy helps us to release ourselves from our judgments and our biases. Do you ever pay attention to how many judgments you have in a day? I mean, think about when you're bored and standing in line and you're looking around the store, you're at Walmart or something, looking around. I went to 5 Walmarts this last week looking for a toy for a child. And so standing in line, you have these judgments. You see people, they're dressed differently, or you see things going on, you're like, oh, what about that? Oh, that, oh, that. And we have hundreds, if not thousands, of these judgments every single day. And most of them they're not healthy, but they're not productive either. So again, empathy, when we can sympathize with another or have empathy towards ourselves, it helps us release. And it gives us a sense of understanding. It gives us a sense of connection with not only one another, but with ourselves. Because oftentimes we talk with empathy with others, but it's also important to have empathy with ourselves. You know, when we're down on ourselves or we're experiencing shame or guilt, we're kind of berating ourselves. Oh gosh, I should go visit my family this Christmas, but I don't want to. And having that empathy is saying, you know, why is that? Why am I feeling this way? Or why, what is causing these feelings? And having that courage to take that deeper dive, to face what you need to face and to release it. So empathy is that second step towards realizing our peace. The third step is acceptance. And I really love the Serenity Prayer, which 12-step groups, a lot of them use this. And it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The longer version goes on to say, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. Wow. Taking as he did, the world as it is, not as I would like it. Trusting that he, meaning that Christ presence, will make things right if I surrender to your will, that I may be reasonably happy in this world and supremely happy in the next. And so this idea of acceptance and surrender, letting what is be what is. Most of the things that happen to us, we have no control over. We control what we can, to make our lives better, to improve our lives, but then we release it. And in our spirituality, we talk about that. We talk about releasing to that higher power, that supreme power. And again, just being able to release that, accept it. It is, you ever hear that saying, it is what it is, right? And I believe that when we can do that, we really can experience that greater peace. All right, moving on to our C. We covered prayer, we covered empathy, we covered acceptance. And now we move on to cooperation. Cooperation. In Romans chapter 14, verse 19, the Apostle Paul says, let us then pursue what makes for peace and mutual upbuilding. And this not only talks about with each other, but us co-creating with Spirit, us cooperating with Spirit. So as we set that time in prayer, as we create empathy with ourselves and really twin with ourselves and other people, we come to a point where we can move into this deeper cooperation. There's always everybody watch that Lego movie?
Lego movie, yes.
Lego movie, yeah. There's a song called Everything is Awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. And we're all part of a team, no matter if we call ourselves introverts or not, or we're not used to being around each other. We're a team at some point. We're a team either with God, that creative force or that creative spirit, right? So when we co-create with that spirit, when we tune ourselves in through prayer and empathy and acceptance, we create this energy. When we create with each other, right? When we pray with prayer partners, where two or more are gathered. Sometimes when we collaborate on projects with groups and things like that, such as church groups or community groups, we get this greater sense of satisfaction, this sense of connection with one another, and with a greater purpose outside of ourselves. So there's many benefits to cooperation. We also, in this practice of cooperation, develop something called spiritual poise. This is kind of like a spiritual maturity, but again, it's operating from that center space. There's a clip from an article that says, spiritual poise is a true axis of being. It's a point of absolute stillness within the soul, where the peace of God reigns. And it's possible for tumultuous race thought and sensuous belief to revolve around this center. That's all that stuff I was talking about, right? All that stuff that, the world, what's going on in our lives, and all that stuff just swirling around us like when you see one of those storms. So we're untouched there, yet it's far from being a negative condition. It's the quietness of spirit, and it's a vital, masterful attitude, and it's the result of a number of positive elements which have been acquired and set in operation. Perfect spiritual poise suggests balance of power attained through the harmonious relationship of one's personal characteristics. So again, when we're working on that harmony, that cooperation, we have an empathy. We're really valuing our feelings and the feelings of others, and we're really tuning into that, and connected through prayer, we come to this place of spiritual poise. There's an article I was recently reading in medium.com by an author named Richard D. Bartlett. And in this article, he was reflecting on a big move he was making from New Zealand all the way up to British England. And he says, I decided to pay close attention to the peace so I could take some with me in my pocket. I have an imaginary stone that I carry with me, which I grab onto whenever I'm feeling short of peace. I love that idea of an imaginary stone. Mostly I notice peace as a relation to the present. Peace is what emerges from faith in the present moment. And my hopes are pinned on right now, not a wish or an imagined future. I drift out of peace when I lose touch with the present moment. Peace is a generative relation to the difference. The difference without attunement is discordant, conflictual, noisy, brittle, and anxious. This is an idea of when we're not connected through prayer. We're not connected to that source. That's what we experience. Difference with attunement, however, this is when we're attuned, when we're plugged in, when we're operating from that nest. Difference with attunement is harmony, and harmony comes from intently listening to my companions, making subtle adjustments to my own self-expression. There's more harmony available when my sense of companionship encompasses more, when my kinship includes more, and when I feel myself alongside people who are not related to me as family or as human or as contemporaneous. I practice exercising the peace muscle with myself, making peaceful relations with my different parts, being a companion to all my anxious and excited, sad and creative and autistic and dancing and gross and selfish and brutalized and wise parts. I practice making peace in my relationships, in small groups, and in my writing and tweeting and my micro-solidarity. I'm not super good at it, but it is easier when I'm surrounded by people practicing. This kind of encompasses a lot of our journeys. I felt that, I felt that myself when I read it. And again, it's this step of peace, having that group of people, that sense of cooperation, both with spirit, with my internal feelings and emotions, and also with each other. One step at a time. Lastly, last step. So we covered prayer, we covered renunciation, we covered empathy, and we covered cooperation. And lastly, we're going to cover elimination or renunciation, which I just repeated myself. I got to go with one word. Elimination or renunciation. Renunciation is actually an active, I like to call it active elimination, or we call them, sometimes in unity we talk about denials, And what that is it's not denying the conditions around us, it's just denying the power they have over us. So we're not giving in to outside things, Nobody can make me mad unless I let them make me mad. So elimination, renunciation is one of our 12 powers, and what it's designed to do, this awareness of it, and how this can be a step towards peace, is it clears out the gunk, right? I think of birds. When I lived in a house and I had a bird's nest that would come back. The birds would come back every year, and generations of bird families would come in, and they would use the same nest. But Mama Bird had to kind of clear out the gunk of the nest, and she had to kind of freshen it up a bit with some fresh twigs. And so that's what renunciation does, is it helps us clear out that nest, right? And we can replace it with new twigs and make clearing for the birthing of these eggs of creativity, these eggs of love, these eggs of kindness, these compassion. So there's a verse in the Bible from Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 and 22. And Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother and sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? And Jesus said, no, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. So why did he say 77? Well, this idea of forgiveness, again, releasing, renunciation, elimination, whatever you want to call it, this clearing out, forgiveness we are giving for. We're giving for more love. We're giving for more compassion. But it's not something we necessarily arrived at. Have you ever thought you've forgiven somebody, and then the thought comes back in your head for some reason, something reminds you of what they did to you, and you're going, oh God, that person, and you're like, wait a second, I forgave him. But did you really? So I think that's what Jesus was talking about here. This idea that it's a constant thing. We need to constantly pull these weeds. We need to constantly thatch our nests, so to speak, and really, again, re-eliminate, keep renunciating these thoughts that come up and re-forgive this person. You know, when we feel that come up in our heart, we've obviously still holding something there. So we want to clear out this nest. And if we have to do it 7 times or 70 times or 700 times, we can keep doing that. We can arrest those thoughts and feelings and bring ourselves back into a forgiving attitude. So to close, when we practice peace, P-E-A-C, prayer, empathy, acceptance, cooperation, and elimination or renunciation, we can effect harmony, balance, and calmness in ourselves and also in others around us. And each time we find ourselves at odds with any of these, all we have to do is simply re-peace to return to harmony. So God bless each of you in this week of Advent, of peace. And may I just say, peace be with you all. Namaste.